Well, this Jesus that we've been singing about, that we've been singing to, when he was here in the flesh, one time he walked into this village. And when he walked into that town, there was a woman named Martha who welcomed him into her home. She said, Jesus, come on in. I'd like to serve you. Come on into my home. Now, when Jesus entered Martha's home, she had a sister named Mary who sat there at the feet of Jesus and listened to his teaching. But Martha was distracted with so much serving. She came up to Jesus. She said, Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to serve all alone? Tell her that to help me. Jesus replied, Martha, Martha, you're anxious and troubled about many things. But one thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the good portion, and it will not be taken away from her. This is a story from Luke chapter 10 in the scripture. It's a story from Luke chapter 10, and as I read and as I hear this story and ingest it, I wonder, what is this good portion? What is this one necessary thing? Back when I was in my younger days in school, I had a sociology class. And in this class, we were given this assignment, and we had to figure out a social norm, a cultural rule, so to speak, something that we grow up understanding and knowing. We don't necessarily have to be taught it. It's a cultural norm. We just, in our culture, we grow up and we know that that's what you do or that's what you don't do. And so we had to find one of these cultural rules, a social norm, and then we had to go out and break it and do a study on how people responded. And I told you last night, I'm the main mischief maker. The prankster in me said, this is the best project ever. I can't wait. What could I come up with? And I kept thinking, what's going to be the best one? Do I wear an orange gorilla suit? And I don't know. What am I going to come up with? And so I kept thinking, and finally I realized something. In our culture, when you go into a restaurant, you don't sit at a table that's already taken. Now, even if they're like, come on, like there's an open seat, like you walk into the restaurant and you're like, listen, my family's waiting. We're starving. It's famine outside. And like, can we, and I see 2 seats over there. No, sorry, you're going to have to wait till there's an open table. It doesn't work in our culture. Now, in other cultures, it might be acceptable. It's not such a big deal, but in ours, you don't do that. So I thought, this is going to be very interesting. So the first place, I walk into this Mexican restaurant down the street from the house I grew up in, and I just walk in, and the hostess says, can I help you? And, I'm just meeting somebody. I mean, I was. So I pass the hostess, and I look around, what's the best table? And so I see this table that had 2 empty chairs. I said, that's the one. And so I pull up a chair to this table. Now, it just so happened to be like a husband and wife on a date. So I sit between them. And literally the guy looks at me, what are you doing? I said, I'm just getting dinner like you guys. And he says, and now you're going to leave? Yes, sir. I mean, I was shaking in fear. He's working out. I ran away. And then I'm like, okay. I walked around the restaurant to the other side where they couldn't see me. Like, who is this guy? And is he okay? Probably not. And so I found this other table, and it was like college kids home from college visiting their parents. And I sat down with them, and they're like, hi. I said, how you doing? And they're like, can we help you? I said, yeah, I'm getting dinner. I mean, I'm acting like this is totally normal. They're like, where do you get off? And so I sat there, and then we're just having a conversation, chatting, and then like 10 minutes later, they're like, no, really, like, what do you need? Well, I could take $10. No, I'm just kidding. And so I just kept acting, and finally they're like, well, you want to get something to eat? And so I thought, no, I'm good, thanks, just good to meet you. And then I left. They're like, what in the world? So then don't ever try this at home. Another brilliant idea of mine. Walk into a Chili's, I look across, and there's a table, and I sit down. Don't ever do this. I'll probably never do it again unless I want to die somehow. I sat down at this table, and it was a mom with her young daughter. The mama bear came out, the claws were coming out. She's get out of this table now. Yes, ma'am. So I ran very fast out of that restaurant. I'll just tell you. I mean, it was like death glares. Don't ever try that at home. Didn't go well. It was a very interesting experiment, nonetheless. Now, we all know there are cultural norms and cultural rules. And in this story, in Luke chapter 10, there are 2 cultural rules that we must understand to fully grasp this story. 2 cultural expectations of the day. Cultural expectation number 1, they had radical hospitality. They were expected to serve. If somebody entered your town, you were expected to drop everything and serve them. And can you come into my home and I'll wash your feet? And do you have a meal? I mean, radical hospitality. It was expected in the culture of the day. Cultural expectation number 2. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm not getting into that. It's just what was expected of that day. Women were not trained as students or disciples of rabbis or teachers. They weren't trained. It wasn't a cultural expectation. It didn't happen. And it's interesting to me that we find Mary not living for either expectation. She wasn't found serving like they would have been expecting her to, like the cultural norms would have said. And not only that, she was sitting at the feet of Jesus, a teacher, the place of a disciple. It's like, Mary, what are you doing? You're not supposed to sit at that table. There she was. It kind of seems like she didn't really care what other people thought about her at all. At all. I mean, have you ever cared what people think about you? I have, too often that I care to even confess. Maybe it's when I'm trying to share Jesus with my neighbor and I freeze up. He's like, oh yeah, Jesus is just this. And I'm like, well, I don't know what to say sometimes, just honestly. You think people who stand up here and preach, we have all the right words? Sometimes I got to confess we don't. And I'll freeze up like, why? Because inside I probably fear what they're going to think about me. Well, what if he rejects me? What if he doesn't like me? Or maybe you felt this way when you're like, I need to make a decision in my business. And I know this is the right decision, but I'm feeling uncomfortable because of the person in front of me. How are they going to feel when I'm afraid what they might say, but I know this is the right thing to do? Or could it be, you're like, well, I'm like that. I struggle to share Jesus with people because I'm afraid what they'll say about me behind my back. Or I can't really raise my kids this way because, well, I felt bad, like somebody else said that we shouldn't do it. We start to care so much what people think all the time. We live this way. This chair over here, it's on the stage, but it's facing you guys. It's facing the audience. We'll call this chair the audience of many. The person living in this chair, it cares so much. Hey, does my hair look okay? I mean, did I miss a strand? And my teeth, they're kind of yellow, I'm sorry. But they care so much what people think about them. The audience of many. They live for approval, for acceptance. Maybe it's the picture that you looked at on Instagram, the website that you pulled up, because deep down your soul is craving for something to fill it, for acceptance, for approval. And you're trying to find it in so many places. You try to find it in the people around you, what they think about you, what they don't think about you. We live for an audience of many too often that I think we would care to confess all the time. I mean, listen, some of you, not all of you, some of you have probably grown up around the church, been in the church a while. You know how it is. One time growing up, I was with my siblings. I have a younger brother and a younger sister, and if Sunday morning we're stressed out, we're trying to get our clothes on, get to church, eat breakfast, and we're sitting around this table. And we had a glass table that the glass was kind of loose on top of like the metal posts. And so we're sitting there eating our cereal, and I'm sitting, hey, I need more of the table. And of course, my brother, no, I need more of the table. Excuse me, I need more of the, no, that's not fair, it's my, and we start just shoving this thing back and forth. And before we knew it, it's like the table fell on the floor, glass shattered, cereal everywhere. Not good. And then, of course, we're like, all right, let's get in the car. You are so stupid. What's wrong with, that's your fault. You broke shut up. And then we get to church, and it's like, how you doing? Oh, we're blessed. How about you? I mean, we're perfect. I don't know if you know. Come on, we do this so many places, so many times. We put on a face so that people will accept us, and we want to put off something that they'll like. We're not really living honestly all the time. We're living for an audience of many too often. What happens when we live this way? When we seek and crave acceptance and approval from everyone and anything, we start to back down on our convictions. We start to wander a little bit further than we should. Well, if I don't drink this, maybe I struggled in my past, but what are they going to think if I don't order the same drink that they ordered? And all of a sudden, we're doing things we said we would never do. We back down on our convictions. What happens when we live this way? Well, it says in the story, Martha was anxious and troubled. Maybe tonight you're feeling anxious and troubled, like Martha was. There was a time. Now, my wife and I believe in marriage, like we're here to sharpen each other, to challenge each other, to grow and grow in our spiritual growth in our lives. And so one time I noticed something. My wife, she would get anxious around groups of people. And I said, hey, honey, I just kind of noticed sometimes with groups of people, you're feeling a little anxious for some reason. Maybe we should pray about that. And so we prayed. God, what's this about? And all of a sudden, as we're praying, she begins to think about, wow, Charlie, I'm having this memory when I was really young, and we grew up in ministry. My dad fundraised, support raised, and so sometimes we were really conscious of, like, we were going to a meeting, she said. And her dad did what a good dad should do. He said, guys, this is an important meeting, so be on your best behavior. And what the enemy whispered to my wife in that moment was, if you don't perform perfectly, God won't provide for you. So we had this prayer time and said, okay, this is the message yesterday. We rebuked that in Jesus' name. God, what do you say? And God whispered to her. This thought came into her mind. What do you have to say, Lord? Just be. Just be yourself. You don't need to put on a face. Just be. Just be yourself. And she was set free of that. Just like that. Just be. Now, we often try to fight this chair. We try to fight this mentality of living for an audience of many. We'll say, well, come on. Don't live for an audience of many. Live for an audience of one. Some of you have heard it. Live for an audience of one. Well, what does that mean? What does that look like? It might be, I'm up here on stage, and I'm going to be playing the keyboard. Bonk, bonk, bonk. I'm kind of short here. Can't see over the edge. And I'm like, don't look at everybody in the crowd. Just look for the one face. Just do it for them, not for everybody else. And we'll be doing this show or doing this thing. And so just live for an audience of one. What would that look like in our lives? Maybe, if that's you, you're like, yeah, I'm reading my Bible. I'm going to church. I'm serving. I'm trying to love other people. I'm doing these right things. I go on Bible study on Wednesday nights. I'm doing all of this. I really want to do the right thing. Now, here's the thing. I actually really believe that Martha wanted to do the right thing. I think she really deeply cared in this story. Like, I want to just get it right. I want to just do the right thing. And I wonder, what did that look like? This chair is the audience of one chair, we'll call it. I'm actually going to need a volunteer for this. I need, whoever, can you come on up? This person, I'm going to need somebody who's a very holy person here in character and in stature. They're going to represent Jesus tonight. So now don't just relax for a second. I know they're not Jesus. That we're just going to see this. So Johnny, where are you at? Yeah. Johnny will be Jesus for us, just for a minute here, okay. Welcome, Jesus. There you go. Go ahead and sit there. Now, yep, you can just sit there. Now, I just wonder, what did this look like for Martha? I mean, Jesus, welcome into my home. Thank you for coming. I'm so glad to have you. Oh my goodness, I totally forgot. I forgot to wash your feet. I'm very sorry. You've been on a long journey. Those are real dusty. I know you traveled a few miles. I'm sorry I didn't think of it sooner. I'm trying my best here, Jesus, okay? Oh my goodness. Hold on. Hey, kitchen people. Listen, did you get the tea on the kettle? Jesus is here. Someone get the tea going. Okay, all right. Hey, Jesus. I got you our special Middle Eastern tea. It's called Starbucks. Oh dear. I know it has a pagan goddess on there. I hope you're okay with that. Do you like sugar in your tea? Oh, okay, sugar, just a little bit. Oh no, you like a lot of sugar. You like your tea Southern. Okay, I hope you enjoy that. And, oh no, goodness gracious. I'm sorry. We needed to get some bread. I know. Where's the bread? Oh, goodness, guys, did you cook the bread? Get with the program. Jesus is in my house. And, Jesus, I got some special bread for you. It's called Miss Vicky's. She's down the street. Her husband, Mr. Baxter, provided it for us. And it's from the Dead Sea. It's sea salt bread. We use it on Passover. So please enjoy yourself. And guys, get the steak going now. Go slaughter the goats. Come on. It's Jesus time. Distracted with much serving. Thank you, Johnny. Thank you so much. You can take those chips if you want. Distracted with much serving. She was doing the right things. She really deeply cared. Dare I say, Martha was living for an audience of one, but something was missing. Maybe you feel in your relationship with God insurmountable pressure building up on you. Maybe you've messed up and you say, will he really forgive me again? Maybe you feel like I've been serving, but my soul is feeling burned out. I feel something's missing. I believe God's revealing there's something more. There's more to the story. There's more to be experienced. What is this good portion? What is this one necessary thing? One time, before I went to speak somewhere, again, I said, we sharpen each other in marriage. There's this pastor who said, your marriage isn't about your happiness, it's about your holiness. I actually think it's about both. That's just my opinion. Happiness and holiness. But one time I went to go speak somewhere, and before I walk out the door, my wife looks at me and she says, hey, Charlie, sometimes you get kind of weird before you go to speak. You should probably pray about that. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. I'll get in the car and do that. And so I get in the car, and I start driving on this 7-hour drive from Denver to Kansas. And I'm just driving. Oh, I got a lot of time. Lord, is there anything about what my wife said that I should listen to? Anything about that? And all of a sudden, this thought came to mind, this question. Charlie, who are you doing this for? And I said, Lord, I'm doing it for an audience of one. Don't you see me? And it's almost like God cut me off. Just, no. What do you mean, Lord? Everybody says that. That's what, no. Well, Lord, what is it then? And this phrase came into my mind. Audience of none. Hey, we got pretty close. We just missed the end. Audience of none. That's what this chair is right here. This is the audience of none chair God is not your audience distantly watching you. God is not your audience. He's God up close. He's God up close. Time and time again in the scripture, it says, I will be far away from you. I will be distantly watching you. No, I will be with you. Now, it's not that this is all bad. There's a lot of good things here, but this is the for. It's missing the with. The with. God is not your audience. He's God up close. He's God up close. Look at your neighbor right now. Look at your neighbor. Say, God's not your audience. Look at your other neighbor. Look at your other neighbor. He's God up close. He's God up close. He's God up close. I believe that's what Mary discovered. She sat at the feet of Jesus. She listened to his teaching. She got near to him. When we read in the Bible over and over in the Old Testament, if you study this topic of good portion, you'll find time and time again that the good portion really is God himself. It's up close fellowship with the living God. What's the one necessary thing? What's the good portion? It's right here. It's God up close, not God our audience. God up close. Not simply living for him, but living with him. I don't know about you, but if I had to do some sort of performance, I'd rather have my father playing with me than just watching me. If I was playing ball, I'd like to be up close with him and play catch together than him only say, I'm just going to watch you. I'd like to do it with him. There's a nearness. There's an intimacy. There's a power to that. Up close. Up close. I believe God's looking at you tonight saying, would you just pull a chair up close to the table with me? Maybe you've been distant. Maybe you've been doing a lot of things for him. He's saying, hey, would you be with me? Would you be with me? Imagine the topic of evangelism. This chair shies away from it because they care too much what other people think. This chair might share Jesus with others from time to time, but it's really out of guilt. Not a lot of power behind it. This person, from the overflow of their heart, doing life with Jesus, almost can't help but share with complete joy the love of God poured into their heart and abounding to the people around them. Imagine if we lived life with Jesus, not just on a Sunday morning, not just on a Wednesday night, not just in our Bible study, not just at our kids' bedtime prayer, but in our business place. Before we make that important decision, God, would you give me wisdom? What do you say about this? Or driving down the street, wow, Lord, thanks for the sun today. It's been a few months. Everywhere, all the time. He's inviting us, God, up close. There's this musician named Keith Green, just an on-fire guy for Jesus. If you ever listen to his music, go look him up. The lyrics are incredible. The music's a little bit old, I get that, but man, he was just on fire for Jesus, and he said this, listen to this, listen. Going to church, he says, does not make you a Christian any more than going to McDonald's makes you a hamburger. Mustard, please. Listen to this. Saying a prayer does not make you a Christian. For many religions pray. Even saying a prayer to Jesus doesn't necessarily make you a Christian. For many will come to him and say, Lord, Lord. And he'll say, I never knew you. Well, Lord, I did all these things in your name, and I even doing stuff for God. I never knew you. And then Keith Greaves goes on to say, well, so what is a Christian? I mean, if we think about it, it's somebody who loves God with everything they have and loves others around them. It's somebody who's bananas for Jesus. As I look at Mary, who sought to, longed, and everything within her craved to be up close to Jesus. I mean, she looks bananas in her culture. She rejected the cultural expectations. She broke them because she said, I just need to be up close to him. How much in your heart do you long like that to be up close to him? Not God, your audience. God up close. I want to ask you a question. Why did Jesus die? Now, it might be in your mind, you're saying, for my sin. Well, actually, that's what Jesus did when he died, but why did he do it? 1 Peter is very clear. It says, Christ died, the righteous for the unrighteous. Once for all, for sin, he took your place. So that, listen up, listen, so that he might bring us to God. He died so we could live with God up close. And so many of us are missing the purpose of what Jesus did every day. God up close. We can rest at his feet. He has abundant love for us, abundant grace, truth to reform our lives, to shape our lives, to get forged by the fire. He wants to live up close with you, and that is what will change everything in your life. This is not going to change your life, and it's not going to change the world. I hate too often that I find myself here. You'll waste your life living for everybody else's approval, everybody else's expectation. And sometimes I find myself here. God, I've been doing a lot of good stuff, but I never even asked you about it. I never even asked, what do you think about this? I never even spent time with you to be up close so there'd be true power and true fruit and true impact. I just determined by my own will, my own strength, that I was going to do this. Yet, when I find myself here up close at the feet of Jesus, everything changes. All of a sudden, I have peace. Even when decisions seem impossible. All of a sudden, I feel like I don't really need to look at that website. I don't really need to worry about what this person will think about my reputation. It doesn't matter. I'm with him. He's got me. No one will snatch him out of my hand. Here I am, God up close. He's inviting you. Come up close. Now, how do we get here? Maybe you're going, I'm not there, Charlie. I want to get there. I need to get there. It requires a decision. Some of you tonight, you may say, well, I've never had that relationship up close, like to hear his voice, to be near to him, to sense his presence, to be changed by him. Tonight, you need to make a decision to say, I want that. Some of you, you're going, you know what? I had that at some point, but I've drifted. I've wandered. I've started doing it by my strength. I've started to look at the people around me. You need to make a decision to come back to the table. Revelation chapter 3, Jesus says, you're lukewarm. No purpose, useless almost. This water is useless if it's lukewarm. He says, repent, turn from that, turn back to me. Anyone, he says, who hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in with them and they will eat with me. Whew. Scholars say that in that day and age, to have a meal with somebody was to share life with them. Jesus is saying, come share life with me. Come be up close with me. He's inviting you right here tonight. I'm going to invite the band up. I want us to consider that. I want us to consider the invitation of Jesus to be up close. Remember, God is not your audience. He's God up close. Audience of none. He's inviting you tonight. I want us to reflect on that. I want you to, in this moment as we sing this song, just think, Lord, what does that look like for me? Where am I right now? Have this moment with God. Seek out, reach out for this God up close. And then we'll have a decision to make. And we'll begin to unpack, where do we go from here? What does that look like? So have this moment with God. Lord, I need you. I want you to be up close with me. Seek him in this time.